It's a not a very good argument, but I've got an argument.
All right, go ahead.
Okay,
Yeah,
make
so
your argument.
I want to start off by saying Charles Manson is perceived as a god by his followers.
Okay, so what?
What?
So what?
What do you mean? So what?
How does that
What do you
prove he's
mean?
a
So
god?
what? Because he's a god to them. He's perceived as a
Okay,
god to them, and we all live in his own reality.
you know that our perception can be faulty. Like what we perceive is not always what's true.
No, but you tell someone else what someone else perceives is wrong.
Would you agree that our knowledge can be flawed?
Yeah.
Okay, so their knowledge of this guy may also be flawed, right?
Not necessarily.
So you don't think their knowledge can be flawed regarding this guy?
Their knowledge in that guy, not necessarily. Knowledge regarding the guy, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree.
I agree with that.
I would agree that not necessarily, but like it's not necessarily flawed, but it can be flawed, right? It could be flawed. That's all I need. Do you agree with that?
Not to his followers, to the outside point of view, yeah.
No,
I
I'm
agree with that.
talking about his followers. Do you think
No.
it's possible for their knowledge on this guy to be flawed?
No.
So you think their knowledge is perfect regarding this guy?
What they know about the guy, yeah. It's what they perceive to be perfect, then yeah.
Can you prove it is?
Can I prove they believe his word?
Can you
So
prove
that's him.
what they know about this guy, the knowledge that they have on this guy, is perfect?
Does it matter?
What?
Does it matter?
Yes.
Might not know what handed he is, so why is that relevant to the argument?
If you can't prove that their knowledge is like perfect, then my argument still stands that their knowledge can still be flawed based on what I already presented earlier, which you already agreed to, that human knowledge can be flawed. They're human, aren't they?
Okay,
you said human knowledge can be flawed. Those guys are human, so why would they be the exception?
Where are you going with this?
Because if their knowledge can be flawed, then you would have to prove that the knowledge that they have on this guy is either 100% correct, which means the guy would actually be a god as they perceive him. If that knowledge is flawed, then their perception of this guy may also be flawed. So he might not be a god, they might just be wrong. So how do you know that right?
Why can't their knowledge be flawed about this guy and still perceive him as a god? Why can't both
That's
them
the thing
two
I'm
things
questioning.
happen?
That's the thing I'm questioning. Their perception of this guy could be flawed. So them perceiving him as a god may not necessarily mean that this guy is actually a god. They could just be wrong.
From an outside point of view, yeah. You could say that about any religion.
Yes. That's why I'm an atheist.
Yeah, I know. I know you're an atheist
Yeah,
too.
so
That's why you argue stuff like this.
So, like, why does them perceiving him as a god mean that he is actually a god?
Because he's a god to them. If you're fucking like the Atochitwo, if you perceive the world by what you know is right and true, then they perceive him as a god because that's what they know is right and true.
Do you realize how circular that is? You're saying they perceive him as a god, therefore he's a god. And when I ask you, why does them perceiving him as a god mean that he's actually a god? You said because they perceive him as a god, which is the thing I'm questioning. Do you realize how circular that is?
If everything they're fucking perceive and trust that he's a god, why would it matter?
Because your perception of something is not always perfect. You could be wrong. That's something you agreed to when you said humans are flawed in their knowledge. They can be flawed, not they're always flawed. Fuck. So our knowledge can be flawed as humans.
Yeah, but who's to say that your knowledge that is not a god isn't flawed?
What?
Who's to say that your knowledge that he isn't a god isn't flawed?
I never claimed there isn't a God. I don't know if there's a God or not. I'm agnostic about it.
No. I'm saying your knowledge of them perceiving him as a god could be flawed, because he might actually fucking be a god.
Yes, my knowledge could also be flawed. I'm asking you, like, because like you agree that human knowledge can be flawed. So why would they be the exception? Because you literally said they're the exception. You said that knowledge is perfect. Well, regarding this guy at least. And I'm asking you why.
Why? What?
Why are they the exception to something you already agreed to? Because like, do you know what that is called? Like, it's called special pleading. Basically, like just to sum it up, we are basically saying like this one rule applies to everything except this one thing that I'm arguing for.
How so?
Did you ask how so or
Yeah, how so?
how so?
Yeah.
Because you're saying human knowledge can be flawed, right? Those guys are human like us. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, you
Because
agree human knowledge can be flawed. So why is my
yeah,
interpretation less valid than your interpretation?
I'm explaining to you why I'm explaining to you why it's a special PD policy, right? You're saying human logic can be not human logic, human knowledge can be flawed. Those guys are humans too, and you're saying their knowledge about this guy cannot be flawed. And I'm asking you why, because you already agree that human knowledge can be flawed. Why are they the exception?
I
You're
also
special.
agree that their knowledge about their guy can be flawed, but doesn't mean they perceive him as a god.
Okay,
Perceive
so
him as a god.
if their knowledge can be flawed, then that means they can be wrong, right, about this guy.
It's vice versa though. If you're saying, oh, they can be wrong, couldn't I just say, well, you're saying they are wrong, then you could be wrong?
Highlife, I'm asking you, if their knowledge about this guy can be flawed, that means they can be wrong about him, right? Their perception of him can be wrong. Like, do you agree with that?
Yeah, perceptions can be
Okay,
wrong.
so
I agree with that.
their perception of this guy being a god can be wrong and it can also be correct. How do we know whether or not it's correct or it's wrong?
What last bit? How do we know if it's correct or what?
How do we know if their perception of this guy is correct or wrong?
You don't.
We don't. So that means your argument of him being a god because these people perceive him as a god is just a flawed argument. So I can just throw it out the window.
Why?
Because you already agree that it's you already agree that it's a flawed argument.
No. Why is it a flawed argument? Because perception can be wrong.
That's what I've been explaining the whole time. Because their perception
So
of this guy
why?
can be
So what I'm saying is, in equal interpretations, if perception can be wrong, your perception of this guy can be wrong.
okay. I need to like shut down the whole equal interpretation thing because it doesn't really matter when you're talking about real life topics. And I can explain why if you want.
Then if you want, make the video a bit longer.
Because this is not a manga we're talking about. We're talking about real life. Either we know something or we don't.
That's not necessarily true.
Is there any other option?
There is. Like, theory of the universe. Didn't I had to be back. So I say it's in between knowing something and not.
Is there any other option other than you either know something or you do not know something? Is there any other option? Because that is a true dichotomy. There's no other option. You either know or you don't.
So do you want to repeat what you said before then, Dan? I didn't
Before
call
what?
this knowing and not knowing.
Before the whole knowing and not knowing thing?
Yeah. Like what leaned into the not knowing and not knowing.
Okay, I actually brought that up because at this point, I was gonna say at this point, we don't know whether or not they are correct or incorrect about him being a god. So we can't come to the conclusion that he is a god. We can just say we don't know. So until
Why
such
do we
time
have
that it is, until such time that we
What?
have evidence that these guys are actually correct about this guy being a god, we have no reason to believe he's a god. So we are not justified in believing that.
Why do we have to know if it's correct or true?
Why would you
Why
come to a
can't them
conclusion? Wait.
why
Why
can't
would
them
you come?
believing he's a god believe he's a god? Like we don't know Judaism's correct or true. But why does that say it's not?
I'm not saying.
I
I'm
don't
not
know if
saying he's. Oh yeah,
Christianity's correct or true.
hair life. I'm
What
not saying he's. I'm not saying he's not a god, and I'm not saying he is a god. I'm saying we don't know, but we can't say he
well,
is a god just based on the how those people perceive him.
can you say it's
Uh,
possible that they perceive him as a god?
that's fine. They can perceive him as a god. Okay, I can accept that.
Yeah, so why would you not perceive him as a god? You might have to there
Because
to
I
that.
because I don't have a reason to believe he's a god. There's no sufficient evidence for that.
But like I said before, the equal interpretation part, why is that more subjective evidence than their claims that he is?
There is no such thing as subjective evidence when it comes to real life. Either something is true or it's not. Right?
Not
I
so.
lie.
Not so. Well, that's
Now we're back.
Schrodinger's cat. Well, that's
Now we're
Schrodinger's
back
cat.
to the whole dichotomy thing, right? Because I'm saying either something is true or it's not true. Right now we are trying to figure out whether or not this guy being a god is true or not true. And you're saying it's true because people perceive him as a god. And I'm saying people perceiving him as a god is not enough to come to the conclusion that he is actually a god. And I already gave reasons why. You understand that?
Yeah.
Okay, so your argument of him being a god because people perceive him as a god can just be thrown out the window. Do you have any other argument?
I don't get why your fucking argument of him, people not perceiving a god counter weights my argument.
It's why, bro. Come on.
Well, like I just said, it's equal interpretation.
Okay, Highlife. You already agreed that your argument is faulty. Like it's not faulty. It's fallacious. Didn't you agree to that?
No. You agreed to that.
Didn't
I
you
said
agree
what?
that? Wait. Didn't you agree that they can be correct and they can also be incorrect?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes it unreliable. It's like flipping a coin. It can be true and it cannot be true. Or be not true. Fuck English. Like, do you get the point I'm
But
making?
my argument isn't that he's a god. My argument is they perceive him as a god. So your
Okay, but the
argument
thing,
is
okay, hold on.
their information can
The
be
thing,
incorrect, Doesn't matter their belief.
Okay, Highlife, you and I are not debating whether or not people perceive him as a god. We are debating whether or not a god actually exists.
Which their fucking way of living life and fucking faith, one does.
It's like if I ask you, does God exist? And you say, well, people believe God exists. Okay, I don't care, but does he actually exist? What people believe doesn't matter to me. I want to know whether or not he actually exists. So is there actually a God? Whether or not people perceive this guy as a god is not enough to make him a god. At least by
Why
the
is your fucking why is your interpretation there better than someone who actually does believe? The fact you don't believe the fact you don't believe in a god, right? So you're saying I don't believe in a god, so in believing in a god is no evidence that there's a god. It's same other way. In believing in a god, if you say there isn't a god, in saying, well, I believe in a god, so your thing you don't I believe in a god.
I think you're just saying things now. And I'm gonna try to explain again what happened, right? You said this guy is a I can hear myself. I think
But
someone
he's an
has a
objective
way
he's
how.
an object of their faith.
Wait, Highlife? Oh, I was hearing myself, sorry. You said this guy is a god because people perceive him as a god. You already agreed that people perceiving him as a god doesn't make him a god. Because you said it can be incorrect and it can also be it can be correct, it can also be incorrect.
Yeah, to
So
your
that means it's not
interpretation.
necessarily a god.
To your interpretation, it can be correct and incorrect. But to the people
You
that
already,
are fucking objective of
you already
faith, it's correct.
you already agreed to what I said.
I didn't, not all.
Highlight. Didn't you say it can be correct and it can also be incorrect?
Yeah? Didn't I just say from your fucking belief it can be correct and incorrect? But from their beliefs, it's objectively not incorrect. Because
Why?
otherwise, if they didn't believe it, why would they be in the cult?
Wait,
If
why
they
is
didn't
it
believe that this
objectively
is
highlight? Huh?
what?
Sure.
So why is it objectively correct?
You said it's
To
objectively not
their
incorrect.
understanding and beliefs, it's objectively correct.
Highlife.
What?
Okay, I'm gonna ask you again. Do you agree that them believing that this guy is a god doesn't necessarily make him a god because they can be correct and they can be incorrect? Do you
Your
agree with that?
interpretation, yeah. From anyone who's not in the cult, yes. Anyone's
Sure.
interpretation that's not in the
I
cult,
understand.
yes.
I
From the people
understand
that are
what
in
you.
the cult, no. So
I understand what. You,
That's like saying Christianity can be objectively correct and incorrect. So they don't believe in God. It's the same with any religion.
I think you need to
You
stop
can make the
using the
same
word
argument with any religion.
objective in this case. So, Highlife, I want to ask you again. Do you
What did I just
agree
fucking say?
that the you said these people perceive this guy as a god? Do you agree that they can be correct and they can be incorrect?
Agreed from outside interpretations, it can be correct and incorrect. But from their fucking
Okay,
viewpoint, they're correct.
Highlight. You keep saying interpretation. What am I interpreting right now?
That they're incorrect. Because you think they're incorrect.
That no, I'm not saying they're incorrect. I'm asking you what am I interpreting?
Their interpretation is they're incorrect.
Because I don't think it's like an interpretation. It's just me like laying out a logical argument. Because logically,
That's what
something
you.
can be correct and it can be incorrect, right?
Logically, something can be correct, but I'm
Do you
guilty.
agree with something is either correct or incorrect? Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so their perception of this guy being a god can be correct and it can also be incorrect, right?
From your viewpoint, yes.
Why do you keep saying from my point of view or something?
Because you're trying to get me to say if it's from their point of view, you can just argue, well, it can be incorrect, so it's not necessarily valid.
I don't want you
So I'm
to
saying from
argue
your point of view, because from their
Highlife,
point of view, it might be 100% valid.
Highlife.
No,
Yes,
you're doing
I
circular now.
understand. No. Okay, I want to stop you there. I understand that from their point of view, it's correct and it cannot be incorrect, right? They think that's the actual truth. Sure, it's like how Christians think that God actually exists and that is actually true. I used to be in that position. I used to think God exists and that's 100% true. Sure, in their perspective, they are 100% correct. But I'm saying logically, something can be either correct or incorrect. I want to know from your perspective, not their perspective, your perspective. Do you think they can be correct and they can also be incorrect? Your perspective, not theirs.
My perspective is they're incorrect. But from their
They're
perspective,
incorrect.
they're correct.
You're not. Okay, logically speaking, right?
Why
Do
is
you
your
think
why is your perspective more valid than their perspective?
it's not my perspective, it's logic? You agree that logically something can be correct and it can be incorrect. You agree to that? Didn't you agree to that? Logically
Yes, I'm
speaking,
correct.
something can be correct and it can be incorrect. Okay, replace something with the perception of this guy that those people have. It can be correct and it can be incorrect, logically speaking. Not from anybody's perspective, but logically speaking.
Yeah, logically speaking, from anyone's perspective, it could be correct and incorrect, like with anything. But from their
Okay,
perspective,
that's
it
no,
isn't.
no, 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 no.
Because if
Forget
it
that
was, they
perspective
wouldn't
right
be in the
now.
cult. So what you're trying to
Okay,
say is your perspective
oh
is
my
greater
God,
than their perspective.
Highlife. Forget that perspective right now because it doesn't matter, right?
Well, it does.
I'm talking from. I want us to look at this from a logical perspective, like logically, not in their perspective, because they're convinced that
Who's
it's
to say,
100.
who's to say your logic's the same as my logic?
Logic is logic. It's not like
Why is your logical reason? Why is your logical reasoning the same as my logical reasoning?
do you not
Or
agree with
anyone's
the logic?
logical reasoning?
Okay, life.
No,
Do
I
you
agree
not
with that
agree?
statement. I agree with that statement you
Hey,
said. But why is
hey,
your logical reasoning any different? Any same my logical reasoning? Or these
it's what
people's
we
logical
both
reasoning?
agreed on. It's what we both agreed on. Something can be correct and it can be incorrect. Do you
Yeah,
not agree on that? Okay, so I'm
yeah.
applying this to these people. Their perception of this guy can be correct and it can be incorrect. Not from their perspective, but logically speaking. You already agreed to that. Again, that they logically speaking, they can be correct, they can be incorrect. You agree with that?
Yeah, things can be correct and incorrect. Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay,
But who's
so
to say their logic's your logic?
no. Let's leave their
No.
perspective.
That's your argument. Why is their logic your
Oh
logic?
my God.
Why is their
Oh my
logic of fucking for perceiving this guy as a god the same as your logic of not?
oh my God. Okay. Okay.
If it logically makes sense
Do
to
you
them,
understand?
will you say
Do you
otherwise?
understand? Highlight. Do you
And if
understand
it
that those
logically makes sense to
like
you, who am I to say otherwise?
high life? Do you understand that those people are already convinced of it? They're convinced that it's true. Do you
Yeah.
understand that? Okay. Do you understand that I'm not convinced?
Why do you have to be convinced?
I don't have. What the fuck was that? I don't have to be convinced. You made
So
the
it can
claim that
necessarily
this
be
guy is a.
so
Wait, hold on. You
so it
made the
can be
claim that
necessarily be
this.
true and you not be convinced.
Jesus. You made the claim that this guy is a god because those people perceive him as a god. And
Yeah.
I'm
So from their
questioning. I'm questioning the
perception,
perception of
he's a
those.
god.
I'm questioning those people's perception of this guy. That's what I've been doing the whole time. Do you understand that?
I get what you're saying, but if they didn't perceive him as a god,
Okay,
why would they be there? Why would they do the stuff they ask them to do?
Let's do this again. Do you agree that as humans, our perception of something can be correct or incorrect?
Dude, I've already agreed to that. That's irrelevant.
Okay, so that applies to those people as well, right? Their perception of this guy can be correct and it can also be incorrect, right?
Yes.
Okay, now how do we resolve this? How do we know that their perception is correct?
Because they didn't leave.
What?
Because they didn't leave.
I can't hear you.
Because they didn't leave. Their perception was it was incorrect. They would have left. Because their perception that it's correct,
No.
he is a god, they say.
You don't realize something. Your perception, like you can be convinced that your perception of something is correct, right?
I agree with that, no.
Okay, so they are not going to leave because they're convinced, but their perception can still be wrong. That's what I'm saying.
Why is your perception more
Agree with
valid
that.
than theirs?
It's not about my perception. Oh my god. Well, what the
So
hell
you're
does
trying to
my
say
perception have to do with this?
your perception is that he's not a god, right? And their
I
perception
did
is
not
that he is a god,
say
right? So
God.
why is your perception of him
Wait,
not
hold
being a
on.
god more valid than their perception that he is?
Hold on. I did not say he's not a god. I'm saying I don't know whether or not he's a god. Going by the second definition, but you are saying he is actually a god. You are making the claim, and you made an argument to back up your claim. Now I'm questioning your argument, which is those people are convinced that no, not that convinced. Those people perceive him as a god, therefore he's a god. And you already
Well,
agree that our perception can be flawed, our perception can be incorrect. Those people's perception could be incorrect. So how do we know that their perception is correct? Because even if they're convinced that they're correct, their perception can still be incorrect. How do we know their perception is correct?
we don't know the perception is correct.
Okay, so if we don't know, then you cannot come to the conclusion that this guy is a god based on the perception of this guy that those people have, right?
To them, I can.
Not you can't say to them because they are already convinced. Oh my god.
Yeah, same with any religion.
Jesus.
Does it mean they're incorrect?
This is so painful. Come on now.
Christians are already convinced that he's a god. Does it mean the conception's incorrect?
Okay. You keep bringing Christians into this. Do you want to debate Christianity too? Because I can do that.
And going by the second definition, this is real, I'm going to say anyway. He's probably perceived as a god because he's a superhuman at brainwashing people to think he's a god.
Why is he a superhuman?
Because definition of superhuman, give it a minute. I had some shit. No, I lost it.
Which part of the definition of superhuman?
Extremely normal powered size or capabilities. Extending
What?
normal power size capabilities. His brainwashing technique is
Wait,
extended
what?
more than a normal person's brainwashing technique. So it's got superhuman brainwashing.
Anybody
Therefore,
has
superhuman.
wait. Anybody has brainwashing techniques. It depends on who you're brainwashing.
Yeah, but by the definition of
Yes,
superhuman, what I'm going by, it says
but
divine
that's
superhuman being, extending normal human power, size, or capability.
Highlife. You said him brainwashing people is like a superhuman ability, and I'm saying anyone can brainwash any other person depending on who that person is. That's not a supernatural ability or
Yeah, but
superhuman ability.
he's more capable and extending more than normal humans
How do you know that?
because he had a toll.
Because I just gave you a counter to that. Anybody can brainwash any other person, right? Depending on who that person is. So that's not a superhuman
Not,
ability. If
it is when
anybody
it's
can
to that level.
someone
Because
else,
it's more than a normal person. Yes, I agree. The normal person can brainwash anybody, right?
yes.
But he's doing it to the extent that it surpasses the normal person of brainwashing. So he's superhuman at brainwashing people.
In what way?
Like
In what
Hitler
way?
was superhuman at brainwashing people.
Wait, hold on, Highlife. In what way is he doing it to the extent that normal humans can't? Because he's
Because he's got
brainwashing
John
more
Paul.
people?
Yeah.
Is it because he's brainwashing more people?
Yes, and getting him to do
Okay, so if a normal
more
person
stuff.
just starts if a normal person, let's say a 13-year-old kid starts brainwashing like 5-year-olds, and like a whole like group of 5-year-olds have been brainwashed by this kid, is that a superhuman ability that this 13-year-old has?
Is that 13-year-old brainwashing more than a normal person?
The number of people you brainwash doesn't mean you have better brainwashing skills.
It started us.
I would argue not, and I can give
Why
reasons why.
wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it?
Why wouldn't it? Okay, because let's say I can. What analogy can I give? Okay, let's say I have a knife, right? You and I both have knives, and you stab one person in their sleep, right? I stab 100 people in their sleep. Does this mean I have better like skills using a knife compared to you just because I stabbed more people? Even though we
Yeah, you're
stabbed
more
them the
efficient with
exact
it.
same. No,
Yeah,
it
you're more
doesn't.
efficient with it.
We have the same skills. I just
You're
had
more efficient with it.
high life. I was explaining. We have the same skills. I just had the opportunity to do it to more people. That's the difference.
Meaning you're more
So
efficient.
he has the opportunity
Yeah,
to do
but
it to more people. That doesn't mean he has better brainwashing skills. Do you get the argument?
get the argument, but it's flawed.
How is it flawed?
It's like you said with a knife. The guy who
How
stabbed
is it?
100 people had more experience than the guy who stabbed one. So it would be necessarily better than the guy who stabbed one.
Okay, I said you'd be using in that analogy. I said we are using the exact same skills. Like you're stabbing the guy the exact same way. I had the
Okay,
opportunity to stab more people. You didn't. That doesn't mean I'm better than you at stabbing people.
it does. You stab more. You have more experience.
No,
Why
that
would it
only
then?
speaks.
Why wouldn't
Wait. That is only like in relation to like how many people you have the opportunity to stab, or in this case, how many people you had the opportunity to brainwash. He had the opportunity to brainwash more people. That doesn't mean he's better at brainwashing more people. He just had the opportunity to brainwash more people than an average human.
That's
You
not a
understand that
defeat to what
argument?
I said. That's not a
What?
defeat to what I said. That's not a
It
defeat
is.
to what I said. It's
It
not.
is, and
You can
I
still
can
have.
explain
No,
why.
it's not.
Right?
Both them things can be true. You can still have fucking more capable, more fucking better at brainwashing people.
If
Yeah,
both
go
of
on
those,
it.
Jesus.
No, not
Yes,
you.
I would agree that. What?
No, go on.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
I
valid.
would agree. I would agree that both of those things could be true. He could be like really like better than an average person at brainwashing people, and still have the opportunity to brainwash more people. But at the same time, the opposite could be true. He could be awful at brainwashing people compared to the average human, but he has the more opportunities to brainwash people.
No, because if he was awful at
Hey,
brainwashing
that
people, he wouldn't get so many
that
people.
goes that goes back to your thing of equal interpretation.
No, it doesn't. Because
It
the cult
does.
is proof that he's better at brainwashing
Because like
people than any other people,
I, I gave an
than normal
alternate
people.
explanation. I gave an alternative explanation. He could be awful at brainwashing people, but have more opportunities, like compared to the average person, that is, but have more opportunities to brainwash more people compared to the average person. Even though he's slightly worse at brainwashing people than an average person,
And I've
that,
explained
that could
because he's
also be
had
the
more
case.
opportunities.
So
And
why is
I've explained
your
because he's had more
interpretation
opportunities.
the likely
That's
one?
what I'm saying now. I've explained that him having more opportunities doesn't necessarily mean that he can't
Oh
mean
my
that
god.
he's worse at brainwashing people.
Highlife, you said it doesn't
Yeah.
defeat your argument, right? And I agree
Yeah.
that sure, he can be better at brainwashing people than the average person and have more opportunity, like brainwash more, like have the opportunity to brainwash more people. Sure,
Yeah. And I
but
said
and I said,
necessarily that he had the opportunity to brainwash more people doesn't
I'm gonna
defeat
say,
that he's better at it.
I'm
Because
still
you
talking.
agreed that both them things can be true.
Highlife. Let me present the argument.
Don't.
No, because I told you I agree with you that those things can both be true, but now I'm going to present the opposite interpretation of that, like an interpretation that is like completely opposite to what you said, right? It can also be true that this guy is worse than the average person at brainwashing people, but still he has the opportunity to brainwash people. So why
No.
is your interpretation more likely?
In your interpretation, that he's bad at brainwashing people, but because he had more opportunity, is
Having more
fallacy because he
opportunity,
wouldn't have that many people if he was bad at brainwashing them.
he could.
So, he's not an
Okay, you're
argument.
not getting the point. You're not getting the point. I'm not saying he's like completely
Told is not an argument.
high life. I'm not saying he's completely awful at brainwashing people. I'm saying he could be worse than an average person. That doesn't mean he's awful at brainwashing people. He can still be good at it, just not as good as an
And
average
I'm
person.
saying he's not because he's brainwashed more than the average person.
That just speaks to opportunity. He has more opportunities to brainwash more people,
If he wasn't good at it,
even
it
though
doesn't
he's
matter how much
slightly worse than the
opportunity you
average
get.
person. Do you not understand what I'm saying? Or are you just not
Do
listening?
you not understand? It's not a defeat. It's like, let's say like you're pulling a woman, right? And you
This
just
is the equal
bad at pulling women,
interpretation
right? But
highlight.
you've got more opportunity. Doesn't defeat the guy who's just better at pulling women because he pulls more women. Wouldn't that just fucking
Highlight.
objectively say that guy's better at pulling women because he did?
Highlight. Let me
So
try to explain this.
your interpretation does not debunk me fucking
Hold
premise.
on. Hold on. Let me try to explain this again, right? Your interpretation is that this guy can be better at brainwashing people than the average person and still have more opportunities to brainwash more people, correct? Isn't
Yeah.
that your interpretation? Okay. My interpretation is that this guy can be slightly worse at brainwashing people than an average person and still have more opportunities to brainwash more people. Equal interpretation. Why is your interpretation more likely?
Doesn't having more opportunity doesn't necessarily mean you'd fucking succeed.
You know, wait, wait, say that again.
Having more opportunities doesn't necessarily mean you succeed. So you
Doesn't
saying him
necessarily
having
mean.
more
Wait, I didn't hear the
opportunities.
last part.
So you saying
It
him
doesn't
having
mean
more
what?
opportunities does not counter my claim of him
I
having more
provided. Wait,
opportunities
okay.
and
High
being
life.
good at fucking brainwashing.
High life. High
You're just
life.
saying he could, which
I
isn't an
provided.
argument. I'm saying he has.
I provided another interpretation that is just equal to yours, and I'm asking you why yours is more likely.
I'll just explain why mine's more likely.
Okay, can you try to explain it again?
I've done it like
Maybe I
4
didn't.
times, not to move on.
We can't move on unless you explain it.
I've done it 4 times, let's move on.
Explain it one last time. I promise you this
No,
is the last time.
no. Explain it 4 times, you just don't understand it, let's move on.
Okay, so anything else you have to back up your claim that this guy is a god?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so I guess we can like end it here, right? Or
Yeah,
conclude before
fine. Yeah, do you want to go first? I don't want to go first. No, I'll let you go first, actually.
you wanna go first?
Yeah, you can go first.
Okay, I think I made it clear that his argument for why this guy is a god, the first argument of those people having perceiving him as a god, flawed because he says the reason why this guy is a god. Are you sitting next to a baby? Oh, okay. So he said the reason why this guy is a god is because those people perceive him as a god. Therefore, he should be considered a god. And I'm saying people's perception of something could be correct, and it can also be incorrect. And he agreed to that. So my question was, how do we know that those people's perception of this guy is correct? And basically, he just repeated what he said and said, in those people's perspective, this guy is actually a god, and their perception of him is correct. And my counter to that was, well, those people's perception is what's in question. So we can't use those people's perception because that's what we're questioning. And he didn't have anything other than that. And what else? The whole superhuman thing. He's saying that this guy has a superhuman ability, which is the ability to brainwash people. And the reason for that is because he brainwashed more people than an average person. And I'm saying this guy could be worse than an average person and brainwashing people and have the opportunity to brainwash more people than the average person. That doesn't mean he has a superhuman ability that nobody else has. And that's an equal interpretation to his interpretation, and he fails to provide reasons why his interpretation is more likely. I will leave it there. Go ahead, Highlife.
Fuck's sake, what was the first bit?
Sorry?
What was the first bit you said? Oh yeah, that was it. I'm trying to say that their interpretation of being a god means that they're a god, and he's trying to say that from an opposite interpretation means that they're not a god, which doesn't necessarily beat my premise of them interpreting him as a god. And I can't remember the rest of that shit because I got a bit stoned. And then the second argument is you remember it? Oh, second argument is I say better brainwashing because he just add more people to brainwash. And he's saying, well, not add more people, brainwash more people. And he's saying, well, because he had more opportunity, which I think I countered with, well, doesn't necessarily, because he had more opportunity doesn't necessarily mean it accomplish it. Yeah. It was a very bad debate. Well done. Yeah, so, I'm done.
I guess.
What else?
We
didn't.
What's his name? Brahmi, stop the recording.
Yeah, I'm muting in a minute. I've got to start something like that.
Is Brahmi here?